I got a chance to talk to you a little bit about this. F you. He wanted to fight. I mean, frankly, he was walking by mouthing off, and I engaged him. I'm like, quit talking about it then and be about it. Saying he was going to beat people up. I was like, let's go. And at the end of that, I hugged him, and he kissed me on the neck, and I kissed him on the neck.
I like Hitler.
I don't like Hitler. And I know you're trying to be shocking with that.
I'm not trying to be shocking. I like Hitler. I do not. The Holocaust is not what happened. Let's look at the facts of that. And Hitler has a lot of redeeming qualities.
Like whether it's better to be a vampire or a werewolf. This is a debate that I must confess I once had myself. When I was 7. Then I grew up. In case you're wondering, by the way, Mr. Walker decided he wanted to be a werewolf. Which is great. As far as I'm concerned, he can be anything he wants to be. Except for a United States Senator.
Great. 8,002. We'll start in our line for Democrats. Glenn called in from Salt Lake City, Utah. Glenn, good morning.
Hi, good morning. My question is, since we're spending all this money, where are we getting the money from? And my second question is, if I can in your mouth.
Apologize for that, Congressman. Don't take that kind of language here on the Washington Journal.
And the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
Okay. In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
Yep,
there
I can hear you now.
I don't miss
Fantastic. Sorry guys, I think there's like maybe some glitches in the spaces that we need to fix. I'll dig into it next week. Yeah, I mean, on the Twitter file stuff, I mean, the idea here is simply to come clean on everything that has happened in the past in order to have build public trust for the future. I think that's essential. Like, why should people believe Twitter in the future if Twitter does not come clean about the past? That's what it comes down to. So it's just, so I've given Matt Taibbi, and then just recently, just about an hour ago, Barry Weiss, access to all Twitter documents. So it's like unfettered access to anything. And this is not like a North Korean tour guide situation. This is you get to go anywhere you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, however you want. So I'm not like controlling the narrative, or I didn't I was seeing Matt's tweets as he was tweeting them. So I'm like, I was just as eager to see them as everybody else. And I think Matt did a great job. I mean, there are a few cases where I think we should have excluded some email addresses. Sorry, Jack. Jack at Pizza is now, might need a different email address. But so we also need to, not have email addresses in there. And I think we need to post more actual source documents, so then people can draw their own conclusions. But it's just obvious that there's been a lot of control of information, suppression of information, including things that affected elections, and that just all needs to be, it's kind of like this friggin' Stasi files, like at the point you just want to have the stuff out there.
So Elon, I have a very blunt question for you then. Given the past few days over Yi and what we're talking about, the freedom of expression, and people want to ask hard questions. So we've had one side where we've now seen you freeze his account again, but now you're releasing information that, about the freedom of expression. So how are you going to balance the levels to which we speak about the freedom of expression on Twitter,
Yeah, well, I think
if that makes sense?
sure. The with Kanye, it's obviously a difficult subject, but that was a case where it was like, where that was my decision. But I think it's important that people know, okay, that was my decision, because at a certain point you have to say what is incitement to violence, because that is against the law in the U.S. You can't just have a form a club, let's go murder someone club. That's not actually legal. So. The question is, what is incitement to violence? And I think, posting swastikas in what is obviously not a, good way, is an incitement to violence. I personally wanted to punch Kanye, so that was definitely inciting me to violence. Anyway, that's not cool.
Just to hang on, but you mentioned in a good way,
Well, no, it's just that like
just to
it
make
could be
sense.
like an analysis of the Second World War or something. That's a history drama, or whatever.
It's contextual,
yeah.
right? Like,
It's like okay, like let's a battlefield or something, and that's got this so some sort of war history thing. I don't know, something like that. Then that would be okay, but.
yeah, it has to be contextual. I mean, if he's
It's
posting it in a
interesting.
way
Like
that
what
is trying to rally.
Where is Ed Snowden? An international manhunt is underway to find the man who leaked some of the U.S. government's biggest secrets.
My name's Ed Snowden. I'm 29 years old.
Weeks ago, Snowden started final preparations for his leak and the great escape that followed it. He moved out of his house in Hawaii on May 6th and left the country on May 20th, telling his girlfriend he was leaving town, but not why.
Over time, that awareness of wrongdoing sort of builds up, and you feel compelled to talk about it.
But it turns out the government was looking for Snowden even before he revealed himself as the source of the intelligence leaks. The NSA's Security and Counterintelligence Directorate, also known as the Q Group, is the agency's internal police force.
They're basically the cops or the police of the NSA. Their main job is to make sure that their many analysts and officers and program managers are not targeted by foreign intelligence services.
Eli Lake of the Daily Beast broke the news that the Q Group has been hunting Snowden for weeks.
The NSA Q Group is trying to find out everything they can about Mr. Snowden, about his online habits, his travel habits, the people he knows.
And the Q Group is trying to suss out any connections Snowden may have to foreign governments.
We know from some of the stories in the Washington Post and the Guardian that Mr. Snowden was well aware of encryption keys and technology that he can use to try to cloak his movements in cyberspace. So right now it is, I would imagine, a bit of a cat and mouse game in terms of the people who are hunting him and the hunted whistleblower.
For now, Snowden's whereabouts are unknown, at least to those of us outside the Q Group. Snowden has checked out of the luxury hotel in Hong Kong where he had been holed up after racking up an $8,000 bill for his 3-week stay.
What would it take to make you leave everything behind?
Going into hiding may have been a tough decision for Snowden. Until now, he'd been living the good life in Hawaii with his girlfriend Lindsay Mills, a life acrobat and self-described pole dancer. No, not that kind of pole dancer, but she often posted half-naked photos of herself on social media, sometimes cavorting in paradise with a boyfriend she refers to as the elusive E. Until last month, E, or Snowden, was making $122,000 a year as a computer technician at Booz Allen Hamilton, which had a contract with the NSA. But then in May, Snowden suddenly vanished, telling his supervisor he needed medical leave to treat his epilepsy. And his girlfriend? She posted this to her blog yesterday before taking it down. Another photo of herself in her underwear, along with an ode to the one I've grown to love the most, and the ones I never got to bid adieu. But sometimes life doesn't afford proper goodbyes. The American Civil Liberties Union has filed a constitutional challenge to the NSA programs that Snowden leaked information about, specifically the one involving Verizon providing metadata to the government.
Democratic presidential candidate Joseph Biden today faces a controversy. 3 weeks ago at a debate at the Iowa State Fair, he used phrases identical to those delivered by British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock.
Biden seemed to be claiming Kinnock's vision and life as his own.
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Gladys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania don't come up after 12 hours and play football.
8 hours underground and then come up and play football.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
There was no platform upon which they could stand.
The notion that every thought or notion or idea you'd have to go back and find and attribute to someone, I think is, quite frankly, ludicrous.
The problem here is that Senator Biden told his audience he'd just been thinking about these things, and he failed to give any credit at all to his famous British speechwriter.
You know, I was thinking on the way over here. Now that's a little too much, because as you point out, what's behind the words? What's there? And a lot of people, the rap on Biden has always been that it's just a surface.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
But CBS News found a tape of a second instance.
It reappeared in the New York Times with a new charge, that Biden had appropriated a famous litany from the late Robert Kennedy about what the gross national product cannot measure.
It cannot measure the health of our children,
The health of our children,
the quality of our education,
the quality of their education,
the joy of their play,
or the joy of their play.
Biden gave Kennedy no credit. He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
Joseph Biden admitted today that he committed plagiarism when he was in law school. He said it was a mistake, but that it was unintentional.
He quoted 5 pages of someone else's work without proper citation.
I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again.
He was given an F.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been dumb.
To the political community in Washington, it all seems of a piece. Plagiarism at law school, plagiarism on the stump.
The great communicator. Strike that. The great imitator.
You don't steal verbatim, or when you do, as he did 99% of the time, you give credit.
Biden's critics say he sells himself as a man whose words and visions can inspire a new generation in politics. But if the thoughts, phrases, and visions really belong to others, it's a form of false advertising.
Is it a wise idea, though, to take something that personal, anyway, from another politician and try and appropriate it to your own campaign?
I think it was a stupid thing to appropriate material that was really very personal, that was someone else's.
Most people didn't know who he was, you know, Joe Biden, and now they're going to say, oh yeah, he's the guy who plagiarized.
You and your campaign have had... Senator Biden, you and your campaign have had a number of occasions to correct or clarify things you've said relating to race, including your remarks about Senator Obama being, quote, clean and articulate, your comment about Indians working at 7-Eleven, and recently to the Washington Post in which you spoke about race while describing disparities between schools in Washington, D.C. and Iowa. Do these gaffes or misunderstandings, or however you would characterize them, indicate you're uncomfortable talking about race, or are people just being too sensitive?
My credentials are as good as anyone who's ever run for President of the United States on civil rights.
Here. Senator Obama?
I just wanted to, I just want to make the comment. I've worked with Joe Biden. I've seen his leadership. I have absolutely no doubt about what is in his heart and the commitment that made with respect to racial equality in this country. So I will provide some testimony, as they say in church.
No need to adjust your system. This song, call it Jack Herrer cause it hits strong. Fist pump, rebel on the set, make your bitch jump. Doubt me, get in line cause the list long. Scandalous type Nick song. Mellow in your face like the Knicks on. Dick long, gripped in the pits with my wits on. Low quick, short wick on a lip bomb. Better strong, any record inspector on. I transform to a beast, call me Predacon. Upper echelon, Deco rep till he dead and gone. Was an ex-con, now I get my checks on. Now a nigga's alright like I'm never wrong. Headstrong, stepping through a present day Lebanon. Like Marvin, I get it on. Rebel gon' set it off, then I jet set where the weather's warm. Florida, something.
Listen, I'm a visionary, killing this, I'm still in this. Hang with a gang that's villainous, building this from the ground up, turn the sound up, lounge around, let the beat pound like a Dillinger the handgun. Can't come close, I'm a phantom. Your brand ain't a movement and your jam ain't an anthem. Tantrum, crying bitch, a battle and your dying wish. I'm a genie that'll rant that shit. I insist, fly shit. Shrunken low sweater, yeah, we tighten it. Tight kicks, flow holy water like Christ spit. Ice pick, spin that motherfucker like a nightstick. Prisoners, tie sun up, that I am my shit. Listeners, take a deep breath, I mean a recess. ES, mid issue 1, you to repress. Refresh, your funny style, you should redress. Speak less, what's a brave heart with the weak chest? Right? Yo.
I'm not gon' blow, he's down for the count. I'm not gon' blow, he's down for the count. I'm not gon' blow, he's down for the count. Dig this.
I spit bomb, kill him softly with this song. Click strong, this ain't nothing like a chick song. Big John, in the shower with a big blonde. Switch on the pile, little sour in the big bomb. I'm big homes, I ain't living till you live long. Big bone, honey, trying to keep me in the friend zone. I touch down, try and put it in a end zone. Pimp bone, and I dip on her like I'm Jim Jones. Yes, y'all, heard the rest, who the best, y'all? You slept, dog, I'm a threat, what you rep, dog? Respect, dog, here's a bone, go and fetch, dog. Mr. Mep, y'all, my favorite letter is F, y'all. As I continue where we left off, next off the list, another hater is checked off. Get lost, you trick, check boss, or bets off. More music and less talk, I'm talking about. You already know, man.
But night goes.
I walk down the street, people look at me and say, who the hell are you? I'm just an average Joe.
Dr. Yorgo, the EQ on this will make Zarface's brain bleed. He'll become so enraged he'll self-destruct. Don't be so foolish, you oaf. I knew Suckface would be stupid enough to surface again. Sir, it's Zar, and they love him because he's a hero. Well, every hero needs a villain.